Joining me now is Dennis Wilder, Chinese military analyst and former White House advisor. Your thoughts? I know you watched the speech. The thing that struck me was there was a lot about his campaign and what he's done for the economy. There wasn't a lot of substance there. You surprised at that?
No, I think this is typical of President Trump. He has this desire to remind people of how well he did. I think he's always kind of surprised that he did as well in the election as he did. And so I think he's still a little bit new to the job.
I think there are a lot of people still surprised about it. Well, the New York Times had a headline before the speech. It said, Trump's plan warms a great power competition with Russia and China. And yet we didn't hear a lot of that, but I guess it's in the document. What's your takeaway there? And are you surprised he didn't kind of hammer that more in the speech? Because it seemed like he just glossed over a lot of that.
You know, I've been thinking a lot about the word competition since the speech. There are two kinds of competition. There's tennis, where you compete on a playing field, but very gentlemanly. And then there's boxing, when you really hit each other. I think one of the questions unanswered about this is, are we talking about a tennis match here, or are we talking about a boxing match where you're trying to knock out the opponent? I suspect we're more on the side of a competition that's on a playing field, and I think the document may have been a little overstated in that regard. I think the president, when he spoke, softened that a bit, as you noted.
Is it hard, though, for other countries to gauge this? Because it seems like this president could be a boxing match today, and it could be a tennis match tomorrow. I mean,
exactly.
It's all over the place, isn't it?
Right. I think that if I were in a foreign capital, I would not read too much into any particular document or speech the president makes, because this is still an evolving administration. This administration still, I don't think, has found its baselines.
He said economic security is national security in the speech, and this kind of gets into your competition analogy. But it seems to me when the U.S. president talks about trade, it's not a win-win, as the Chinese like to say.
Right.
Somehow the U.S. ends up on the wrong side of every one of these deals. And you see, even with NAFTA, like Mexico and Canada, somehow they took advantage of us. Do you see friction developing between the United States and China? Because he kind of tends to look at each one of these agreements as it's a bad deal for the U.S. Somehow we're getting the bad end of things, is how he says.
I think in that area, this could be a rough year going forward on the U.S.-China trade relationship. As you may know, the comprehensive economic dialogue didn't seem to go anywhere, and nobody's really talking about it at this point. I think the administration is disappointed in what they found in the comprehensive economic dialogue. I think, as they say, they're looking for a new recalibration of the economic relationship. And it's going to be interesting to see how the United States and China work through that, because I think this administration is going to use some punitive steps to try and rebalance the economic relationship.
That can backfire, though, can it? I mean, that comes with some...
No, there's a risk in all of this. And, you know, the administration's talking about using statutes that we haven't used in years in the United States against the Chinese economy. How Beijing responds to that is going to be very interesting to see.
So 2018 will be an interesting year. But one of the things I wanted to talk to you about was, I know you've looked through some of the document. It's lengthy. It's more specific than the speech. One of the things he talks about is competitive diplomacy. Preserve a forward diplomatic presence, it says. And yet we see the State Department is decimated. We see a lot of postings that are critically important that haven't been filled. How do you square these two?
I think there's a real internal contradiction in what the president is saying. On the one hand, he talks about America first, and then he talks about working with other countries, working with allies, finding ways to move forward on North Korea, other problems in the world. That's why I say I don't think the baselines of this administration actually have been worked out. This is an interesting document, but I think in a year we may find that what is real American foreign policy may be a bit different from what this document is saying at this moment.
Dennis Wilder, thanks so much for coming in, offering your analysis. Appreciate it.
Thank you.